Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Raj, and today we're going to do a pretty cool, I wouldn't say vintage necessarily, but an older unboxing, and we're going to be doing not just one Green Lantern figure, but two. This right here is a Green Lantern vinyl figure, so there's no posability or anything like that, but it's from the DC World's Finest collection. It's basically just a little mini figure. It looks like it's got a stand with it. But it is Hal Jordan, so it was an absolute must for me. And that shelf right back there, I collect just about everything Hal Jordan related. So this was a no-brainer to add to the collection. And this one, the Kingdom Come reprint of Green Lantern. This one also is a Hal Jordan piece. I wanted to get the original version that was in a smaller blue box to keep mint on card. Unfortunately, finding that one's a little more difficult than I'd care to mess with as far as like trying to find it locally to pick up. I hate having some of those items shipped because of the possibility of getting damaged in transit, so I would prefer to find them locally. Fortunately, I was very lucky to find both of these fairly local. Shout out to the awesome folks out at Fan Fortress in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They are tremendous, and they had a lot of cool stuff, and I managed to snag these two bad boys from there. So we're going to get started with unboxing the World's Finest vinyl figure. I do find it interesting that it, is essentially just a standard non-posable vinyl figure. That's a little odd. They do have things like that from time to time. There's the insert, I guess, if you want to keep it and put it for background. I've got no intention of doing that. This thing's pretty much going to be out of the box and on the shelf right next to literally everything else that I have that has Hal Jordan written on it. So once out of the box, here's the figure. Like I said, no posability to it at all. Pretty simple design. Classic Green Lantern uniform. There's no, lines or texturing through the uniform, kind of like they did with the Green Lantern costume with like New 52 and anything after that. I wish the green was a touch brighter. I do think it's a little bit dark, and as you can see, the Green Lantern symbol is not quite printed onto the chest. It's kind of hard to see from here, I guess. But basically, there's an imprint to where the symbol is, and the paint's supposed to be directly on top of the symbol. However, it is not. There's also some paint on the back that's missing there. So those little white spots, probably just from it sticking to the packaging. So out of the box, the paint isn't great, so that is a little disheartening. However, this thing didn't cost me a fortune, so at that point, you don't mind too much. It's whenever you spend a good chunk of change on something, you get it out, and it's got issues. That's where you tend to lose your cool. Now, we'll say that the base for this is pretty good. It's thick. I mean, very, very thick. It does have 2-foot holsters, the Green Lantern symbol right there. So I do think for a base, this thing is pretty nice. I think it's going to do great for this because standing him up on his own does not seem to work super well. If anything, let me see if I can adjust the camera just a little bit here. Doesn't seem to appear to be happening, but it doesn't stand up very well. So definitely the base is going to be needed for him on this one. And it doesn't appear that the holes match up quite perfectly either. So you have to pull the legs apart. So there it is on the stand. Like that, I think it's great. Unless you're up real close, the figure actually looks pretty good from a distance. So that I don't mind. Sometimes you will get those figures or even miniatures that when you get up close, you just think, wow, that is hideous. However, this one, there's some paint flaws, obviously, with the symbol. And the green, like I said, is a little bit too dark for my liking. However, from a distance, though, it looks pretty good, so I can't complain. So that is the vinyl figure, and it is a very, very hard vinyl. It's not like a Funko Pop where it kind of feels almost soft. It's very, very dense, almost like a mini statue. So that one is pretty cool, and that's going to look really great on the shelf. Now, let's go ahead and start with this Kingdom Come Green Lantern. This one was in a set of 4 that included Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman from the Kingdom Come comic book, which if you have not read it, I highly recommend it. It's easily in my top 10 to 15 books ever. As far as, especially if you just go by a graphic novel, if you read it as a whole, it's wonderful. Issue by issue, it's good too. There's some drab parts, but you're gonna have that with just about any miniseries. But as a whole, great series. Alex Ross's artwork has always been a favorite of mine, so it's definitely top of the list for me when it comes to some of my favorite DC stuff. So this one, the package is obviously a little rough, which I was okay with. I'm gonna open this bad boy and let it breathe anyway. This package, or I'm sorry, this figure rather. I'm trying to see if we have a print date on it. I believe this is from a set that was made in '98, but I could be incorrect. Yeah, oddly enough, there's no copyright date on it, so I guess, copyrights weren't that important at the time. Okay, I'm rambling on, so let's go and get it open. All right, so once we've got it open, it's got... First, we've got our figure, who is in there very well, which I like. Love it when they pack them in there tight. I don't worry about them rattling around and limbs getting damaged. Also on the back here is a stand. So that's kind of nice. I was not expecting a stand to come with it. The color is a little questionable. I would think that if you're going to have a Green Lantern figure of any kind with a stand, you'd want it to have either a black or green color to it. That way it just stands with the figure a lot better. This is a bright blue and red Reactivated logo there. So that is a tiny bit questionable. I'm not sure how it's going to look once the figure's on it, but we'll get to that. All right, so here we go. That is the Kingdom Come Green Lantern figure. Now, this obviously is not going to have very much posability at all to it. This is definitely far before McFarlane started working on the DC line, and whenever DC Direct was doing a lot of the figures, they were your basic, 4 points of articulation. So your arms, no elbows even half the time, and then your legs. And on this one, it doesn't even appear as if the legs move at all. I mean, they seem pretty stiff-ski. So I think that this one, you're going to get some arm movement. And even that, I mean, it's very tight. So I don't think this one's really meant for playing or for really much of posing. I mean, you're wrong. I mean, this is pretty much a standard pose for that version of Green Lantern anyway, so that's okay. Let's see how this sword fits in his hand. The sword does look pretty good. I do love the color on it. Definitely the proper color for a Green Lantern construct. And there we have it. Sword in hand, looks pretty good. Holds it pretty well, fits nicely. I do think that the overall posture of the figure might be a little bit troublesome when it comes to standing it. The cape on the back is all rubber, so that's cool. I hate when it's just that real hard plastic and there's just no way of budging to pose it or move it around if you have to stand it next to something. So that'll be pretty helpful. But I definitely love this Kingdom Come Hal Jordan design. Even with the top of the head, it's even kind of got, just all the missing spots for the hair. It's pretty cool, little, tiny detail there. Really like it. And then, of course, on the armor, you have the deco that kind of goes around the symbol and across the thigh piece right there. And, of course, on the gauntlets, just that Green Lantern symbol all over the place there. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put him on the stand and see how he stands. He's only got one fat foot with a peg hole, so pretty much that's the one you got to go with. And yeah, this one does not stand very well. With the peg in the hole on the foot, he tends to teeter backwards, so that's a little disappointing. I mean, you could see how much he's teetering backwards. You put the foot all the way down on, and it just goes back. I guess it's because of the way he's standing. So this is something I may have to stand in the back of my DTOF. That way you can have that back glass panel to perch up against so it doesn't just completely fall over. I think in the middle or even in the front is definitely out of the question. So there we have it. We've got our Kingdom Come Green Lantern Alex Ross version, and then we've also got our Green Lantern hard vinyl figure. Like I said, neither one of them are really posable. This one, the arms move, but even then when I move them, they're very tight. Almost feels like they're going to break if I turn them too far, so that's a little worrisome. However, fortunately, both these were a great price, and considering how hard it is to get the normal version of this one, it's cool to get one of these in an alternate format or a second printing that I can open up and add to the Hal Jordan shelf. So that's going to do it for today. Guys, put them up one more time. Green Lantern's light, all that good stuff. As always, thank you for joining me. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Feel free to comment on any of the videos with any comments, questions, concerns, or even if you just have something you want to say about the videos, if you enjoy them or anything like that. Any feedback is definitely appreciated. Again, as I've said before, I'm fairly new to doing this, so if there's any hitches or staggers with all of it, I do apologize. I'm trying to, get my feet wet and find my footing. So I do appreciate any and all support you guys have and provide for me. And I'm more than happy to provide content on a consistent basis as often as I possibly can. And remember again to also follow me on my Instagram at Collecting Raj, and there you'll find pictures of some of the stuff I do unboxings for, as well as other additional things, as I've stated in previous videos, that I may just not have time to make a video for, but I think it's a pretty cool piece, and I'd like to share some more in-depth shots and conversation about. So again, thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you next time.